Patterning power. This is a month of power, the month of expressions of power. And so today it's patterning power. We'll do love power, idea power, word power, and then your divine power to close out the month. But bless you, because I can. But we'll begin the month with patterning power. And when I was listening to that song, I was thinking that's so apropos to what we're talking about, because sometimes, breaking our patterns, breaking our habits can be a little scary, because we think, if I change, is there any ground underneath me? Where will I land? Will I sprout wings? Will I be able to make it? But yes, indeed, you will. You will. It's just a matter of making that change. Frequently, when I'm looking at my own patterns and my own habits, one of the interesting patterns I have when I bought my house, the one out in Studio City that we're not going to release right away. We were going to release it and come out here, but it looks like we're going to stay a little bit longer. But when I first got that place, I told the realtor, I don't like spur living. I like to be able to have circular patterns. I want to come in one way and come out the other way. I want to drive this way and then come back around and make a circle. And he said, this is perfect. And the house has like 7 different ways to get into it, Then I got the job here in Simi. And it has been like, it's up to 170, up to 118, back down to 118, back down to 170. It's a spur thing. Then I realized, it doesn't take that much longer to go around the 23 and down the 101. But the traffic is so crazy, so I'm breaking my habit. I'm breaking my pattern. I'm enjoying the spur, and I'm finding there's all kinds of interesting things to see along the way. The church is being built along the 118. It's almost finished. They've cleaned up and closed up the wall. It's all kinds of great stuff to watch as you change your patterns, as you break your habits. But I'm so frequently hypnotized by my patterns and habits. I don't know about you, but it's almost like automatic. It's down at the cellular level. It makes so hard to make these changes. It's the behavior is almost like a twitch. It's so automatic, some of the things that you end up doing. And so looking at how to change those patterns brings me to the idea that I need some power to help me do that. And there is a power within us that gets to do it. So frequently my patterns, they save us from things that don't work for us, but they can also limit us at the same time. I'm thinking about a farmer that I read about at a farm near a farm field near a highway, and he was growing pumpkins, and he looked in the field one day when he was minding the new pumpkins, and he noticed that someone from the highway had thrown a jar out of their car, and it had landed in the field, but it hadn't broken. And he's got this weird idea to take a pumpkin and stick it inside this jar. He was very careful not to disrupt the vine, and he sticks it inside the jar. And then later in the season, when the pumpkins were harvest time, they're all huge and everything, he goes over, and the one that he had stuck in the jar, it hadn't broken the jar, it had simply filled up the jar. That's all it had done. That's all it had grown. That's all it was equal to, was that space in the jar. And sometimes our patterns and our habits make us like the pumpkin in the jar. They limit us to a particular shape. They limit how we express ourselves, when in reality we're like the other pumpkins, and we're wanting to grow as big as we possibly can be. But our patterns hold us into a form that limits the ability for us to be. And my dad wrote me this week, and he's been dealing with a bad knee for a lot of years. And he was saying, son, I want to apologize to you. And are you watching today? I'm going to tell the story of your knee. So he writes me and he says, son, I wanted to apologize to you because I did what my dad did to me, and I said I wasn't going to do it to you, but always when you would fall down as a little boy, I'd say, jump up, you're okay, be a man, come on, Tex, shake it off, And he did that all his life with this knee thing, and he's been walking around bone on bone, dealing with the pain, saying he had a high tolerance from pain, but feeling the pain all the same. And then finally realized, I don't really need to do this. These knee changes are pretty automatic now. I'm going to get me a new knee. So Tuesday he gets a new knee, and he's like going to be so excited about this, right? Breaking the pattern. That old story. Hey, you're a man, shake it off. It's okay. Yeah, your knee hurts, but that's all right. You're a guy. You can do it. We have to break some of these patterns that we're told. It's okay to cry. I like a good tear. Guys, I want to tell you, one of the reasons that women's eyes are so wonderfully sparkly is because they cry, and it rinses them out, and it gets the blood vessels working, and they look really sparkly. So guys, if you want sparkly eyes, and I guarantee you, it's good to have sparkly eyes. Your gal will look at you and go, oh, your eyes are so pretty. It's fun to have pretty eyes. Guys, it's okay to be pretty. Break these patterns, you know? So if you can do that, don't be a pumpkin in the jar. Don't walk around with a bum knee when you don't need to. Don't break some of the patterns and the habits that hold in your life. Don't be like Paul, like he wrote in Romans. What did he say? I do not understand what I do. For what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate, I do. Right? Do you ever get that way? You know better, but you do it anyway. And you're like, darn, why did I do that again? It's the hypnotic twitch-like patterns that we're into that we have the power to break. Again, don't be a pumpkin in the jar. Remember, we are at choice. And the great thing is, not only are we at choice, but the best habit that we have is we are habit-making machines. That's what we do. You know? I mean, in the morning, when I make my tea, even though I know that I'm probably not going to use that tea bag again, I squeeze it out and I set it off to the side like I just might make another cup of tea out of that tea bag. But I don't. And then they stack up and Johanna's looking at me like, when are you going to throw those tea bags away? You know, I've gotten into this habit of doing that. But, you know, thanks to Reverend Carol, I got 50,000 bags of teas because she bought me this big old box of tea for Christmas, you know. I don't even need to save a tea bag. Hey, I'm not living in a limited universe. I live in an abundant universe. There's tea everywhere. And I'm saving tea bags. You got to break out of these habits. How many of you get silent? How many of you keep silent? You know, because you think it's right to just listen. Maybe you listen because you think it's better to listen than to speak up, because you want to play small in life sometimes. Or maybe you avoid conflict because you think that if you do, you'll be safe, you know? Or maybe you think if you're a quiet, listening person, you'll have better relationships. But there might be something in you calling you to speak up, to live larger. You know what that is? It's the infinite universe that is within you that wants to expand and expand through you. We're not here to live large. That LOL is not laugh out loud. It's live life, live out large. Live it large. Sooner or later, the things that we think are good are no longer good. I also was reading Mark Nepo this week. I got some for you today. Book of Awakening, he says, we all arrive at moments where the very thing that has saved us is killing us, keeping us from truly living. Now, okay, it may not be killing you like dead, but killing your spirit, killing your creativity, killing your possibilities to stay stuck where you are. We're not stuck where we are. Heraclitus says you cannot step in the same river twice. And you are not the same person today that you were yesterday. So a habit that served you yesterday may not be serving you today. You have the power to change that pattern. I've got this quote from a new book I'm reading, which is an old book, A New Design for Living by Dr. Ernest Holmes. Anyone ever read A New Design for Living? Oh my God, it's a wonderful book. Maybe we'll do a book study on it. And there's this one part that I read, and I thought, I should use that tomorrow. But then, maybe not. But then, okay, here it goes. It's by a guy named Henry Frederick Amel. Do I dare do this without the... Sure I can. I made it big. Okay, and for all those gender-based folk, this guy wrote a long time ago. He says he. Just say she in the place of it if you want to, or one. He who floats with the current, who does not guide himself according to higher principles, who has no ideal, no convictions. Such a man is a mere article of the world's furniture, a thing moved instead of a living and moving being, an echo, not a voice. The man who has no inner life is the slave of his surroundings, as the barometer is the obedient servant of the air at rest, and the weathercock, the humble servant of the air in motion. Did you hear that? Do you want to just be a furniture piece pushed around by your habits? Do you want to just be a weathercock pushed by the weather vane, just pushed by the wind? I'm pointing north, I'm pointing east, I'm pointing south. Or do you want to make a choice to live your life as a being in the locus of control of its own destiny? You see, the habits are part of what we want to do. It's part of what makes us feel safe. That's great. But when you identify one that's no longer making you feel safe, when you've identified one that's kicking you in the butt, it's a reminder that you've got the power to change that pattern. And that's just all I want to mention for you today, that you have the power to change that pattern. You have the potential. And I told you about my grandfather, Booster. Do you remember this? Potential? What he used to say? Boy, you got potential. It's my mother's dad. Boy, you got potential. You know what potential is, don't you? It means you ain't doing nothing yet. Except he used a different word. He didn't use the word nothing. Fill it in for yourself. You're all adults, right? Use your potential. Do something with it. Use the potential you have to make a change in your life. Ernest Holmes says, we should so change the pattern of our thinking that it more nearly expresses and coincides with that perfection which resides in mind, in God. In mind. I love that Dr. Holmes identified God as mind, because we all have one. And it reminds us when we think about our mind that if God is mind and we have a mind, that we are the expression of God, that mind that is in God is within us. That this mind of God was so infinite that he had the bright idea that I can't do it all by myself. I need some friends. So he Facebooked us all. Right? So we have that expression in us. We have this mind of the universe, this mind of spirit, this mind that is not satisfied with staying right where we are, that wants to change, that wants to express. And as we allow that within us, as we go into that God awareness place that I mentioned to you a minute ago, as we go into that space, that we can find out what it is about our life that coincides with the perfection of the universe that desires to be expressed by us, so we can find that moment where we can jump off and not worry about whether the ground is down to catch us, because we know that there's a divine energy within us that's going to allow us to fly, soar, and sail above whatever turmoil we may have imagined could have happened. And the imagination is a crazy thing, but we have the power to make the change. We have the opportunity to make the change. We have the opportunity to notice. When I say notice, I say K-N-O-W, to know, to notice. And once we know, now we have engaged the power within ourselves. Now we have the opportunity to make a choice. Now we have the opportunity to move forward and not to be haunted by our desires. You know, there was a woman who was crossing the street, and her whole life, her mom used to tell her, because she was kind of a busybody, mind your own business, mind your own business, mind your own business. And she wanted to be a mom all her life. But nature decided that wasn't going to be in the cards for her to be a natural-born mom, to be a bio mom, right? And so here she is crossing the street one day, and as she's getting ready to look at the light to change, she notices a young girl, maybe 12 or 13 years old, just tears rolling down her face, about to cross toward her. And so she starts to cross the street. And as the girl passes, she's about to say something to her, but then her mom says, mind your own business. The habit. She doesn't say a word. And the girl goes on by. And the rest of that day, the rest of that month, for weeks, why didn't I talk to that girl? Why didn't I ask her what's wrong? Why didn't I ask her, can I help you? Can I just hold your hand? Can I hear your story? Don't let that happen to you. That urge within you to do something different than you've always done will come back and haunt you for days or for weeks. Don't be like the two pilgrims that were on their pilgrimage to Mecca, and they decided that they weren't going to have anything to do with women. Do you know that story? Right? And they're walking along, and the two monks are walking along. They come to a river, and they see this beautiful woman in her silk kimono trying to get across the river. It's the old monk and the young monk. And the young monk says, can I help you across the river? And he picks her up, and he carries her over to the other side. He puts her down, and they continue on their way. And about a half hour later, hour or so later, they're continuing on their trail, and the old monk says, I thought we weren't going to engage with women. We weren't going to talk to women. We weren't going to have anything to do with women. You touched that woman. He says, yes. And I put her down on the other side of the river. But you've been carrying her all this time. How much stuff are you carrying like that? Isn't it time to put it down, stand a little taller, and change the pattern of your life? It's a wonderful thing to do. And the thing is really sweet is grace. Did I skip a quote? I did. But I want to do this one. I don't think I need it, but I'm going to put it in here because it's in here, because if I don't, then the next one won't work. Okay. We create patterns. Oh yeah, this is good. We create we create patterns that others depend on, and then the last thing we ever imagine happens, we grow and change. Oh my God, we change. And then to stay vital, we must break the patterns we created. How many of us have stuck? How many of us are this way we always have been? Right? Who wants the good old days? I don't. There were no good old days. The good old days are the good new days that are coming right now. The changes that are taking place in our lives are important changes, and in order to stay vital, we may have to break some of the patterns. And we have the opportunity to do that because we have the power to do that. And before you feel a lot of pressure to go out and make some big changes in your life, I want to tell you that there's this thing called grace. There's this thing called time that allows us to take our time in making these changes. And there's a mold that will make it work for us. The patterning mind is a mold for our experiences in life. You know, I love going to construction sites. I was looking at one recently, and I was noticing they were putting all these wood panels around, and they were kept building the wood panels up and up and up, and I thought, oh my God, look at all these wood panels. That's going to be a really tall column that they're about to pour. They're going to pour the column in that form. The habits that you make, the changes that you make, create the form for your life. Now, just like that column they were going to make, first they have to put all the wood up, then they have to pour the concrete in, then the concrete has to set, then it has to cure before they can do any more building on that particular pole of the construction site. Any of you guys that know anything about doing that, I probably shortened something, but it's in the ballpark. So if you want to make some changes in your life, know that it may take a little bit of time to do that. I've been working on it. I've been working on names. And just this morning, here in the center, and just this morning, I had to be reminded once again, where is Jean? Where are you? There you are. I knew you didn't have to raise your hand. I got it right, you know, but it takes a little time. It takes a little time. I hadn't seen Bruce in a while, and I went like, Bruce, yes, it came back to me. You know, it takes a minute, and you got to give yourself some grace. Robert. No. McDowell. No. Oh, Ron Nelson. Yes, that's right. You know, if you were here last week, you know what I'm talking about. Right, Saul? Were you here last week? Do you remember him? Ron Nelson? Robert McDowell? Yeah, okay. I mean, it's just, you gotta do that. Like Mary's husband, I don't know what his name is, but, Bill Hornaday. Yes, have you ever seen a picture of Bill Hornaday? Any of you haven't? If you haven't, look at Peter. He looks just like him. Isn't that right, Dominic? You know, I'm slowly getting there. Help me out there, Al. How am I doing? All right, see? But there's names that I don't remember, like Brad's daughter's name, but I know it's Brad's daughter. Good, I remembered. Give yourself some grace as you make the changes in your pattern. It may not happen overnight, but if you're committed to it, it will take place. Right, Miriam? Where are you from? Germany or Denmark? Germany. Yes. In time, you will get there. Dr. Holmes believes that too. He says, we achieve a little here and then a little there until finally the main body of our thought is affirmative and constructive. Affirm that you have the power to change the patterns in your life. Begin the process of building the mold. Do the construction to make it happen. Give yourself the grace of time to let it unfold perfectly, and it will. Just like calling you back, Cindy. It took me 2 weeks, but I finally got you on the phone. You just give yourself the grace and the time and the permission to just be your perfectly imperfect self. And you can change your pattern and use your power for good, for yourself and for the world. And so it is. A little shorter today, maybe, because I really want us to stick around for the community conversation. We'll make it quick. We're going to lock the doors. You won't be able to get out. It's like the chamber, like they do in certain congresses somewhere. They did that in Texas one year. They locked the house so that the congressman could not get out. And you should have seen those guys. You would have thought that they had just been I don't know. If they'd done their business, they wouldn't have got the door locked. But no, we're not going to lock the doors. If you have to leave, you have to leave. But we do hope you'll stay. Brenda, don't let anybody out. Okay. So let's go to our affirmation. And yes, it wasn't completely intellectual. It was sort of blame dictionary.com thesaurus. I said, I need another word for pattern, and configuration came up. Here we go. I easily break any pattern that binds me in favor of a configuration that expresses and celebrates my divinity. What? You like the challenge? There you go. All right. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Okay. let's do our healing prayer. So feeling the divine power and presence right now in this moment, and knowing that the configuration of perfection is unfolding in each and every person here. That there is a pattern of wholeness, of truth, of beauty, of harmony, of possibilities and potentialities waiting to be realized. And in this moment, we bring all of that together in this prayer and allow it to express as the experiences of each and every person here. If there's a way of being that is no longer serving you right now, it is vanquished back into the light of spirit to be reformed into something that serves you more. Be it better health, deeper, richer relationships, a more satisfying form of employment, deeper pockets with more abundance, with money to share and to spare. Perfect living situation. The healing, the forgiving, and the forgetting. All of these activities of life that are calling us forward to express more God through ourselves is available to us in this moment and is being realized and accentuated and then activated into your life through the words and the intentions that we are sharing now. So take a moment. Think about something in your own life that you're just done with or that you're ready to bring into your experience. Bring it in now. Accept it as your truth, as your reality, and as your experience. Feel it as yours now. And know that the universe responds to that feeling faster than anything else you can do. So the intention is set. The word is spoken. The conviction is here. So now with love and appreciation, we release this prayer into that perfect law that was already waiting with arms open, saying, yes, give me the pattern. Let me fill the mold and make it your experience now. And so it is. All righty. Ooh.